Learning English with English Faculties.
Okay, let's dive right into this masterclass on Seamus Heaney's Death of a Naturalist. This is an explainer specifically tailored for your ISC English Literature Board exams, and we're going to break down exactly what you need to know to secure those top marks. If you've ever wondered how to perfectly capture that jarring shift from childhood wonder to adult fear in your exam essays, well, you are absolutely in the right place. We'll be exploring the sensory imagery, the vital literary devices, and the deep metaphorical meanings hidden right there in the mud of Heaney's rural Irish landscape. Here's what we're tackling in today's explainer. We'll start with the rural setting, move into the innocence of Stanza One, hit that crucial turning point, break down the harsh biological reality of Stanza Two, dive into some essential poetic devices, and finally, wrap up with some key ISC exam comparisons. So let's start with part one, the rural setting. To really get this poem, understanding the Flax-Dam is absolutely crucial. In early 20th century Ireland, flax was literally weighed down in stagnant water to intentionally rot, just so the usable fibers could be extracted. It's a place of intense organic decay, swarming with insects, and frankly, it smells horrific. Yet, surprisingly enough, the young boy in the poem views this festering little microcosm not with disgust, but with absolute wide-eyed wonder. Which brings us to part two, Stanza One, and the theme of innocence. This quote brilliantly illustrates how the child views the decay. I mean, warm, thick slobber. To an adult, that sounds completely gross, right? But to the young boy, it's an intoxicating playground of discovery. And this innocent perspective is heavily supported by his teacher, Miss Walls. She uses this sanitized nursery-style pedagogy, talking about daddy and mammy frogs, to kind of domesticate the harsh biological realities of reproduction. She makes nature feel manageable, safe, and easily contained in little glass jam pots on a school windowsill. Moving on to part three, the turning point. But, childhood naivety can't last forever. Notice the temporal adverb here, then. This marks the exact physiological and psychological onset of puberty, where that idealized, sanitized version of nature completely breaks down. The weather shifts from a familiar, punishing sun to a stifling, hot day. The smell transitions from a manageable decay to being intensely rank with cow dung. This is the moment the speaker can no longer rely on Miss Wall's cute little stories. He is suddenly violently confronted with the raw, aggressive, and unpredictable reality of the adult biological world. And notice Heaney's brilliant use of caesura here. He uses a deliberate pause right in the middle of the line to structurally mirror the speaker's sudden, jarring confrontation with nature's darker side. When you're reading the poem out loud, this pause actually forces us to stop, take a breath, and pivot. It acts as the structural fulcrum of the entire piece, literally marking the exact boundary between the boy's innocent past and his terrifying, awakened present. Now let's look at part four, Stanza Two, and biological reality. When we put these two stanzas side by side, the contrast is just stark. The playful laboratory of Stanza One is completely replaced by militaristic metaphors in Stanza Two. Phrases like jellied specks and delicate bubbles feel soft, almost magical. But suddenly, those same frogs are mud grenades and slime kings. Nature is no longer this passive little subject to be studied in a classroom. It has become an invading force. For your exams, this sensory mapping is an absolute goldmine. You must be able to compare the sensory imagery of the two stanzas. Just look at how the sound evolves from delicate and inviting to coarse and threatening. The boy's visual perception shifts from cute, nimble tadpoles to grotesque, pulsing loose necks. This matrix perfectly mirrors the child's evolving perception of nature. It goes from a safe playground to a menacing threat. And the kicker? Nature hasn't actually changed at all. It's the child's awareness that has. So, the crucial point to make here is the projection of guilt. The familiar frogs have transformed into menacing, vengeful threats, which totally reflects the speaker's burgeoning adult awareness of morality and consequence. As a kid, he innocently stole the frogspawn, but as a maturing young adult, he realizes his actions actually have consequences in the natural order. He projects his own internal guilt onto the frogs, convinced they are just waiting there to punish him. It's a profound leap in his psychological development. Let's move to part 5, Essential Poetic Devices. To secure those top marks, make sure you connect these specific devices directly to the speaker's psychological state. For instance, the onomatopoeia of slap and plop doesn't just describe a sound, it actively creates a tense, heavy atmosphere. The sibilance in Jamp Potfuls of the Jellied Specks uses those repeating J and S sounds to perfectly mimic the damp, slippery, slithering environment of the Flax-Dam. And crucially, the personification isn't just there to be descriptive. By turning the frogs into angry invaders, Heaney basically turns the Flax-Dam into a character that reflects the boy's internal terror and psychological growth. Finally, Part 6, ISC Exam Comparisons. Okay, here is a classic ISC long answer question. Why is the title metaphorical? Well, the death here isn't literal. It represents the end of the child's scientific curiosity and the absolute destruction of his innocent identity. Think about it. A true naturalist observes nature objectively, completely without fear. But when this boy sickens, turns, and runs away from the frogs, his identity as a fearless, detached observer dies. He's replaced by an older, much more aware, and profoundly frightened individual. Now, what if your exam asks you to compare themes of lost youth? A great move is to contrast Heaney's visceral, rural coming-of-age with Philip Larkin's poem Afternoons. Larkin focuses on urban landscapes and these mundane adult routines, where the loss of youth is this gradual, collective, and somewhat melancholic fading away of dreams. In stark contrast, Heaney presents the loss of innocence as an abrupt, terrifying, highly individual transformation, all triggered by the raw power of rural nature. Both deal with the passage of time, for sure, but their settings and emotional tones are entirely different. These right here are your absolute high-yield exam themes. Remember to smoothly link the cyclical nature of loss and time to Keats's To Autumn, comparing how both poets use the changing seasons and natural imagery to convey a major shift in life stages. Or you could look at the exploration of youth and nature's overwhelming power in Wordsworth's The Prelude. Whenever you discuss Heaney, really emphasize that duality. Nature is both a nurturing teacher of wonder and a terrifying mirror of our own anxieties. So, as you hit the books and prepare for your exam, I want to leave you with this final thought. Does losing our childhood innocence permanently sever our connection to the natural world? Or does it just fundamentally change how we respect its power? Think about how the speaker's newfound fear is actually a deeper, much more realistic understanding of biology and survival. Keep that question in mind as you review your notes. Good luck with your ISC preparations, and I will see you in the next explainer.